to make the world's best pumpkin pie. In the next 8 minutes, I'll show you how to make this pie from start to finish. From tender flaky pie crust to luscious pumpkin filling, all topped with spiced whipped cream. We'll start with the crust. In a mixing bowl, add 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 teaspoon salt. Blend together using a large fork. Add 3/4 cup shortening. I like to cut the shortening into the flour using a large blending fork. Keep working the shortening into the flour until you have little pea-sized crumbles. Add 7½ tablespoons of water. Gently mix in the water and make sure not to overmix the dough. You can finish up the mixing by just gently pressing the dough together with your hands. This recipe makes enough crust for 2 pies. You can half the recipe if you only need 1. Divide into 2 equal pieces, wrap each in plastic wrap, and chill until ready to use. Sprinkle flour over your work surface, and also sprinkle a little flour on both sides of the dough. Press it into a disc, and you can add a little flour to the rolling pin too. Try rolling the dough from the inside out. I'm using a standard 9-inch pie plate, so you'll want to roll the dough a little bit bigger than the pie plate. I'm using a nice hardwood rolling pin by J.K. Adams, and you can check the links below for some of the items I'm using today. Continue adding just a little flour here and there as you're rolling out the dough. You'll see here the dough is trying to stick a little bit on the bottom, so you can just brush a little flour underneath to help. I'm using a standard 9-inch pie plate, and I ended up rolling the dough to maybe around 14 inches across. This recipe is really easy to handle, but if it scares you to pick it up, you could just roll it around a rolling pin and transfer it that way, but I've always just picked it up and thrown it right into the pie plate. So to make a nice edge around the crust, you'll want to fold over the extra dough and tuck it under, and I use a thumb and a finger to just pinch a little design around the side. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. You could even just use a fork, make a little decoration around the edge. Really, you can just get creative and try whatever is easiest for you. And now for the filling. This is enough filling for 1 pie. In a small bowl, add 1/2 cup granulated sugar, 1/2 cup packed brown sugar, 1 heaping tablespoon of all-purpose flour, 1½ teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice, and a 1/2 teaspoon salt. Blend together, once again using my favorite blending fork, and set aside. In a mixing bowl, add 1 can of pumpkin. I'm using a 15-ounce can of pumpkin. Make sure not to get the pumpkin pie filling, just the plain old pumpkin. Now add the sugar and spice mixture we just mixed up. Add 2 whole eggs and 1 egg yolk, lightly beaten. The extra egg yolk adds a silky texture to the filling. Blend together well using a whisk. And the last ingredient for the filling is a 12-ounce can of evaporated milk. Now you can switch to a spatula, scrape the sides of the bowl, and make sure everything is blended well before pouring into your unbaked pie shell. If you have a few bubbles on the top of the filling, gently tap the pie plate against the table a few times. If you still see bubbles, try swirling the pastry fork through the top of the filling, and that should help. Bake in a preheated 425-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Then reduce the temperature to 350 and bake for about an additional hour. Baking times can vary depending on your oven. Keep check on the browning of your crust. You may need to add foil around the edges to prevent over-browning. You may already have pie crust shields on hand, but if not, they're really easy to make. Take 3 strips of foil, pinch and roll the edges together, creating a little seam. Press out the seam, and continue with the next piece. You'll notice I'm placing the dull sides of the foil facing each other. When you put the shield around the pie, make sure the shiny side is on the inside and the dull is on the outside. Wrap around the edges of the pie plate and pinch to seal. You'll know the pie is done when the filling is puffed and a knife comes out clean when testing in the middle. Let the pie cool completely, and then you're ready for the last step, the spiced whipped cream. To a chilled mixing bowl, add 1½ cups of heavy whipping cream. Beat until soft peaks form. I'm using a cordless KitchenAid hand mixer, and it's really handy. I love the fact that you don't have to plug it in, and you can use it anywhere in your kitchen. Add 2 tablespoons of instant white chocolate pudding mix, a ½ teaspoon vanilla, and a ¼ teaspoon cinnamon. Beat on high speed until nice and thick. Add a big dollop of whipped cream to each slice and top with just a little sprinkle of pumpkin pie spice. And that's how you make the world's best pumpkin pie. For a printable recipe, check out my website at doublestopbakeshop.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.